This is a super impromptu video. I was out here doing something else and realized that I have garlic that's ready. I pulled an onion because it was flopped over, and I'm just pulling them as they flop over. And then I was like, let me just pull, because there's a ton of dead leaves on my garlic. It's definitely not time for garlic to be ready. And but anyway, it had a ton of dead leaves on it. So I was like, let me pull one of these. And yeah, I think the garlic's ready. It's April, and I planted it in November. So anyway, super bizarre, but let me show you the garlic. Okay, so in this bed I planted Achilleum red, California white, and an early Italian softneck. I ordered my garlic from Keen Garlic, and you can always choose like a variety pack, and they choose which varieties will grow best in your area. So I planted in a smaller bed. If you go back and watch my shorts, I planted in a smaller bed some varieties that I saved from the varieties I got last year and regrew them. They formed small heads of garlic, and I knew they were smaller, but they were dying as well. So I went ahead and pulled them. I think it was last week. I'm having insane allergies this year, and so I keep getting where I get 2 or 3 days and they just knock me on my booty, and then I come back and then 2 or 3 days later they knock me on my booty again. So, but anyway, I think it was last week that I pulled garlic, and they were smaller, but they still formed garlic heads, because it was just a test to see if the garlic that I saved from the year before would grow big heads like the garlic that I buy. So this is the garlic that I just pulled out of the garden. And like last year, I don't think I pulled garlic until like the end of May. So I don't know, like I noticed that a bunch of the leaves were dead, and it's usually like 5 leaves on the bottom, like 2/3 of the plant is dying, and your garlic is ready. So I was like, well, I'll just pull one and see. And I pulled 3, and they're very large cloves of garlic. And so I'm gonna sit here and pull this entire row and just see what happens. I had this all marked with labels, and that's why I went to the paint sticks that you'll see in other videos, because the little plastic labels just get lost. And so I don't know. I also pulled, your onions are ready when the neck flops over. So this is a onion that was ready also, only one of them. I'm just pulling those as they get ready. Those are Vedoras. They're an early bulbing onion. The Texas Sweets are still bulbing, so they haven't really bulbed yet. So let's pull all this garlic and just see. Yeah, let's just see. We'll see how much is ready. I didn't pull any off of the other side, which is definitely a different variety, and somewhere in here the variety changes. So I think the Achilleum red is over there. I think its label is actually still in there, but I'll talk about that when I get to that side. So let's pull this side and see what the heck we got going on. If I get to a point when I'm pulling and I realize that I've pulled 2 or 3 that aren't very large, then I'm gonna quit, because that's probably where the variety changed. But let's pull and see. Also gotta make sure I'm not pulling any onions. Oh my Lord, they're so big. Like, I am so shocked. Last year I didn't grow any this big. This one looks like it's gonna be a little bit smaller. No, it's not. The stalk was smaller, and you just leave the dirt on them, and I'll show you how I dry them out, because if you wipe this off, you're gonna mess up that outer layer that protects your cloves. Okay, see, that one's not as big. I did take my garlic cloves when they came in from Keen, and I put them in the fridge for I think it was like 6 weeks, because I got them so early, because I think they shipped them in September, and then I didn't plant them out until November. So that helps as well. Oh my gosh, this is just awesome. Yeah, I've never grown garlic like this before. This has to be the early, oh my Lord. This has to, I don't know what's up with this little clove. I don't know what's up with that little extra clove on the edge, but I've never grown garlic this big before. So this is amazing. Yeah, this is insane. This is insanity. Oh my Lord. Now I did notice, and this is where they start getting smaller. Okay, so whatever this variety is, it like, see, it's way smaller. For some odd reason, it's like sprouting. Yeah, I don't know. This is where I think the variety changes. Because from this point on, they all like sprouted more green the last few weeks. So maybe these are gonna get bigger. So I think I'm gonna leave from this point on, because I pulled one of these last week because I'm like, what is going on with the new green growth all of a sudden? So I'm going with those are probably early, the early Italian, and these are probably the California whites. And so these are probably still growing, and these will probably be what I harvest in May. So I'm still gonna save this, but I'm gonna leave the rest of this side. Oh, I let the weeds take over this during the winter. It got fireweed in it, or stinging nettle, and it would poke me through the gloves and stuff. Like there was no glove that kept it from poking me, and so I just got where I was like, I am not pulling weeds on this. Now people are gonna ask me what in the world I fertilized this with, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not fertilize with anything. I amended this bed with some compost, who knows if it was cow or horse, before I planted it. And I tossed a couple buckets of our bunny litter on it. And that is literally all I did for the onions and the garlic. I guess I'm somewhat of a lazy gardener, especially in the winter, because I'll just like plant stuff and I'll forget to water it. And I did water this though, like at least once a week. I did water it. If it wasn't raining, I watered it. And now like this onion flopped over. Like, look, it was obviously the garlic was supporting it. So, but that's a nice size onion. All right, let's move to the other side because I think the Achilleum red probably is planted over there. We're gonna see if we can find my tags and we'll see how big it is. Okay, so some of these are doing that same thing where they're like forming more green all of a sudden. Yeah, see this side's still not very big, so I think I'm gonna leave these. I'm just gonna pull a few more random ones along the way because we know at some point the variety changes. This one looks big. Yeah, that one's a good size. Oh my Lord. Okay, this one's got a bigger stalk. And see, this one I think is the red because it has like some red veining on it. I'm not sure if y'all can see that, but I think this must be. This is why it's so important to label. And I did label. I truly did label. But, like, see, this one has a bigger. I truly did label. Unlike normal, where I'm like kind of feral and don't do. This one probably could have stayed a little bit longer. Those don't have very big stalks. Okay, and here's some fireweed. This one's got something. I'm gonna get stung by all this. This one's got something crazy going on. Like, see what I'm talking about? How they like split and they're like forming more green heads, but then this one also split at the bottom. I don't know what's up with that. These are still really good size down here. It's just those over there that look like they could probably use a little bit longer. And these back here. I really wish, like here's a label that says California white. I obviously have no clue what I planted where. So if this is California white, those were probably the early white. I have no idea what's on that back side. Yeah, see, these look like they were good sizes. I'm contemplating though leaving these because if they're California white, they may not be done. I think I'm gonna leave the rest of these because they technically won't be done until they're supposed to be. Let's put one more up here. Yeah, these are on the smaller side, so I'm gonna leave them. They don't have as many dead leaves as that bunch up there. Those had to be the early Italian. So I'm gonna just leave the rest because they're getting smaller. But that was such a cool discovery this morning, is that those were giant and probably done. Behind this, I plan on planting my sweet potatoes. This front section of onions should be done in the next 2 weeks. I have sweet potato slips sitting in my window ready to plant. I was lazy and ordered them from Haas instead of making my own. And this bed is going to be empty once I remove all the garlic and the onions, and so I figured sweet potatoes were a good thing to plant in behind this year. Normally I would plant squash, but we had the whole debacle where the hurricane, so I had to plant all the onions and garlic in one place. So yeah, but that was fun. Let's go put this garlic on the drying rack. I'll kind of show y'all how I do that, and then yeah, impromptu garlic harvest. So one thing I've definitely figured out about myself as a person is that the early bulbing varieties of garlic and onions are going to be my favorite. So I'm going to make a note that next year when I am buying seed onions and garlic, the early Italian and the Vedora from Haas are what I'm going to buy. So this is just a baker's rack. I actually used this when I owned a business to store business stuff, and so I'm repurposing it. The stalks just fit through the slats perfectly, and it's a great place to dry. This is on my back porch, so it's out of the sun, but it still gets wind and everything, and so it just works awesome. Now, once these dry in a few weeks, I'm going to cut the tops off of all of them and put them in mesh bags and hang them in a room in our house, because I've found that that is the best place for me to store onions and garlic. I've tried, like last year I did baskets and that didn't really work out. So I'm going back to the way I bought mesh bags. I'm going back to the way my granddaddy taught me. He used pantyhose, but I don't want to use nylon on my food. And so I bought some mesh bags off of Amazon. They probably don't have any better ingredients now that I'm thinking about it, but to me it seemed better than shoving them in a nylon polyester pantyhose. I wish we had cool storage here, but they just don't put basements, and with the river being right here, our basement would probably end up floating up and away. During the spring here, it's pretty windy, so this gets a lot of airflow. If it didn't, I would probably set up like a small fan to run and give it some airflow. And like, see, these have been sitting for a few days, and so like all the dirt that was on them has fallen off and the ends are starting, they still got a little bit of green on them. So you can braid the garlic also. I tried that last year, and yeah, I'm not that talented. I can barely braid my child's hair. I'm trying to kind of keep this all grouped together so I know, like this front one is the garlic that I seed saved. This back one, so when I am watching this video to figure out what the heck I got going on, this back one is the early white, is what we've decided. Or, not early white, early Italian. This is like the time of year that all of your work, you finally start feeling like you finally accomplished something. These were the bigger ones. These are so giant that I first pulled. Some of those I just put in, I think, were the ones I pulled and said, oh, let's not do this section yet. Then I have the 2 onions that I pulled. I love it. I love this time of year. I love harvest time. So anyway, thank y'all for going along with me for an impromptu garlic harvesting video. And if y'all have any questions, let me know. But I really don't put a lot of time into growing onions or garlic. So not sure I can answer your questions.